Hey guys! So as you know, our Cowboy Bebop first look dropped today, which was so exciting. And I just wanted to address a couple of things that sort of keep coming up in the comments amongst fans.
Death metal! Death metal forever! So last night, I went to my local Cineworld, don't you know, to watch the newest Gerard Butler movie. It was called Plane, and why am I reviewing this film a week after it was released in the USA? Because I live in the UK, it's a dumpster fire of a country, and we tend to get certain cinematic releases, well, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later than originally planned. But I gotta say, what a great experience watching this film with an actual not brain dead audience who knew what they were going for, the same reason as me. Of course, I had extra chuckles to laugh about, which I'll get into. But Gerard Butler, I've loved this guy for the longest time, since 300, since he was Leonidas kicking ass in ancient Greece. The thing with Gerard Butler, he has a very good relationship with Lionsgate films. They tend to grab scripts that might have been considered in the 90s or in the early noughts, and they lay dormant for many, many years, and then suddenly someone comes across one of them and goes, you know what? I think Mr. Butler can make a good film out of this. And Plane, that's all it is. It's a simple title. You know it straight away. Oh, what film are we going to watch tonight, darling? Shall we go and watch Strange World? No, that's just crap. Women talking? No, I don't want to see that either. Plane? Oh, that sounds great. Book me 2 tickets. Gerard Butler plays a character with one of the most badass names that I've heard for a long time. Brodie Torrance, and he is from Scotland, so that kind of cements that Glaswegian accent right there, and I love it. It's macho, it's alpha. I fucking love it. It's great. And then you've got great supporting actors like Mike Colter. You know him as Luke Cage from Netflix. Here he plays Luis Gaspare, a prisoner who boards the plane, a prisoner with a mysterious past, but he's got a redemption arc, which I really loved in this film. I've got to say that there are some reviewers, I think Chris Stuckman is the one who said, well, you know what?
It seems that Mr. Colter doesn't have a really big role to play in the film.
Actually, he does. He's in the film throughout. He doesn't take over the proceedings, but like I said, his character gets a very well-deserved redemption at the end. You've also got supporting actors like Paul Ben Victor and Tony Goldwyn. I thought Tony Goldwyn was just great. He plays a character called Scarsdale, and he's the no-nonsense dude in New York because, that's the thing I've got to mention. If you're ever contemplating a flight, don't go with Trailblazers, because if you do, you might actually end up like these poor passengers and the pilot and his crew landing on a desert island, or rather an island called Jolo, somewhere off the Philippines, or is actually in the Philippines, but it's a small isolated island. I think the population is like 500,000 people, and there are warring factions in between. And what are you going to do? Well, you call government special ops people to come out there and rescue you. Now, you know what? I've got to give a special thanks to Remy Adeleke, who plays Shelbeck. He's one of the best characters in this film. When he appears on the screen, you know exactly why I think he's such an absolute badass. Totally saves the day. And it was refreshing that someone like Gerard Butler thought, you know what? I'm not going to be the whole centerpiece of this film. I'm just going to let others get in there and run the show. And it makes his character more believable because this guy gets beaten up, he fights back. I thought that perhaps Brodie Torrance has a bit of a military past. Not quite, but you see some background videos of him which made me chuckle, which made the Trailblazers HQ team chuckle as well. And I thought, yeah, this film knows how to get you on the side of the correct protagonist. And the thing about this film, the premise of this movie is quite simply this. It's a routine flight from Singapore to Tokyo. I think it's going to be a 6-hour flight. Well, obviously, if you watch the trailer, it ain't going to end up being 6 hours, is it? So, unfortunately, because our superhero pilot, Brodie Torrance, knows there's going to be a bad storm front, and from that point on, all hell breaks loose. It is simply a game of cat and mouse. It's tension because you got this alpha male who sent out his beta bitch male to do his dirty dealings for him, and it becomes the whole tension between these gun runners. They know this plane has crashed. The passengers themselves are valuable commodities. If you want to pay a ransom, this is what you're going to do. But of course, they didn't bargain on Louis Gaspare and Brodie Torrance to try to save the day. There are some brutal action scenes in this movie. So brutal that even some members of the audience were just laughing and gasping shock horror. Now, if you look at the poster as well, I mean, take the poster at face value, because what you see in the film is a little bit different to what the poster suggests. That's all I'm going to say. There are some nice little surprises in the film, which I liked. I like it when the government special ops, like the Sam Fishers, turn up halfway through the film. Someone in the audience is going, "Oh, they got there to the island really quickly." Well, A, it's a span of time, and B, they're government ops. They've got special aircraft that can be dispatched to tackle these type of situations, and I really, really appreciated that. I've got to mention one other cast member, because if I don't mention her name, people are going to be shouting at me in the comment section. Daniela Pineda. Yep, she plays an air stewardess called Bonnie, and it's so funny. Normally when actors and actresses give really cringe takes on social media, I tend to try and avoid films that they've been in. Now, because Pineda was our anime live action accurate version of Faye Valentine in that failed Cowboy Bebop live action show on Netflix, which got cancelled halfway through, it's just so funny. I mean, every time I see Pineda on screen, I just have to look at that video one more time and just think.
First, I wanted to apologize to the fans that I did not anatomically match the Faye Valentine character. 6 foot, double D size breasts, too much waist. You know, they looked everywhere for that woman.
Yeah. I looked everywhere as well.
Weird.
Wow.
So they just went with my short ass.
Yeah, you short ass. Yeah.
You know, there was talk about like.
What were you thinking, woman? You know what? She's actually tolerable in this film. But if you didn't know who she was, you think she was another generic actress who just popped up for a film role, got a paycheck, and off she went away. Now, that does remind me, I've got to mention this point in the film. It is mainly a patriarchal movie. And what I mean by that is a lot of the men have key roles in this film and they take charge. But they take charge in the way that it makes sense, because everybody has their own role to play in the movie. And like back at the operative center, the Trailblazers operative center in New York, you know, you got a couple of women that interject their opinions, but it's mainly Tony Goldwyn's character and Paul Ben Victor, who are kind of at loggerheads with each other about how to resolve the situation quietly and efficiently. They even talk about the missing Malaysian Flight 370, which I thought was a very bold thing to put into a movie like this. But Gerard Butler, he's the everyman. He gets bruised, he gets battered, he fights back. Mike Colter is just so great as well, because you wonder which direction this guy is coming from. And he does something towards the end of the film, Colter, and I thought, yeah, you know what? I kind of agree with his character's motivations. I would probably do the same thing as well. And I tell you what, I'm so eager to watch Plane once again. I'm off next Thursday with my mate because he's going to buy me Nando's and I'm buying him the cinema tickets. Really, he should be buying me everything, but he's been good to me, so I don't mind. And I bet you the second time I watch Plane, it's going to be even better. And it might be less of an audience that sits down with it, but I don't really care because, again, people flocked out to see this film because basically it's going to give you everything that you deserve. Nothing preached down to you, just a good old-fashioned violent action movie that has a very feel-good heart pumping end to it, and I love that. And again, fatherhood. Torrance has a daughter. We find out a bit more about his relationship with his daughter and the marriage that was before that. It's so good. I love that. And it's like, she even records a message like, Daddy, if you never make it back from the island, I just want to tell you that you are a great dad, blah, blah, blah. How often do you see a daughter worshipping her father in a big scale, or maybe a small scale movie like this? Hardly. It's all about men are bad, men are terrible. That's a news headline that is permeated quite a lot in real mainstream media, if you even want to call it real these days. And on that one, folks, if you enjoyed my belated review for you Americans for Plane, do go and watch it. I think it's a very awesome movie. I will pre-order my Steelbook edition when I know it comes out, and it's going to sit there proudly next to my Haggis collection. I don't really have a Haggis collection, but having said that, that might be quite awesome to have. On that one, if I were you and if you were me, I'll watch another episode of Ramsay Nesbitt right now on BBC Two.
Women do not exist to be nice on the eyes for you.
The First Amendment and boobs. So those are the only two things I believe in absolutely in the country.